All right. So let's talk NBA Finals Game 7. Let's get into it. So before the finals started, let's go back to when the NBA playoffs started, okay? We're back into the first round of the playoffs. Not my prediction, but what I wanted to see was the two teams that I thought, based off how the first round was going, how I seen teams play, I wanted to see Denver Nuggets versus Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals. Now, as I'm going forward, I'm going to start recording these predictions because you're going to say, this guy could just be making this up. My girlfriend can validate a lot of this stuff. She's the one who tells me, like, I should record this stuff. She's the one who tells me, like, you're always, like, kind of right on this kind of stuff. So you should, like, kind of, like, start recording this stuff and start, like, promoting yourself in the sports world, right? So this was just based on how I seen teams play and things like that. Now, I knew that Denver had to get past OKC in order for them to make it, but I thought that, maybe Denver could do it, just the inexperience of OKC. Denver could steal a game. Denver really had been there before, but they were just going to have to make shots, okay? One thing that Denver was not good at, that OKC will allow you to kind of get away with, was three-point shooting. And Denver just didn't find enough games where they shot that well for the three-point line to really just take them out. Jokic had a couple bad games in there, but when everything is going through you, you can kind of be like, do I really want to do this for 2 or 3 more series? Do I want to take this abuse? Do I want to have to carry it this much? Do I think we can win a championship if everything is going through me and I don't have as much help as I think I can have? Do I really want to put myself through that at this point? And I don't think Jokic really wanted to do that. Now, granted, any chance to get a ring is any chance to get a ring, and I can't really put that in his brain or in his mouth to say that, because I feel like guys like him want to win a chip every year. But I feel like guys like him also realize, just like LeBron will, to know if he has the guys around him that really will allow him to win, okay? And when guys feel like, hey, I got to do 75% of the load, and just praying that somebody else shows up, they could kind of take a step back and not give everything they can give, just knowing that it's like, how much more can I give? Can I do this for another 2 months? Not saying that they bowed out gracefully. They got beat by a better team. OKC had been better all year, but things could happen. So now that I'm by that, I said once OKC beat Denver, it was their finals to lose. It was their finals from that point to lose. There really wasn't another team that I felt could threaten them in the West the way that Denver or the Clippers could. And so it was their finals to lose, because I felt like once Cleveland was like kind of limping, once Boston was starting to limp around, I didn't feel the threat from New York. New York hadn't beat none of the good teams all year. My only team, and this is in the first round, that I thought could play with OKC was the Indiana Pacers. They were the only team that, the way that OKC plays defense, it doesn't really deter their team like it deters everybody else's. And I don't know basketball, so I'm not going to talk into specifics and plays and all that kind of stuff, because I can't break down basketball in that sense. I'm just a guy who watched basketball for a long time, and I kind of just give my opinion on what I see and what I know. So based on the way that OKC, the way I see them play defense, is that they are a better defense when you have ball dominant guard, okay? When you are a ball dominant forward, point guard, forward, whoever initiates the offense, when that guard is ball dominant, and they are going to dribble the ball, trying to get to their spot, things of that nature, they're able to really clamp the defense on teams like that. They look a lot better against teams like a Minnesota, where Anthony Edwards kind of just dribbles the ball, like maybe a Lakers team where Luka's going to just dribble the ball, like a Memphis team where John Morant's just going to dribble the ball. These teams that they were going through in the West had a lot of teams that just dribble the ball. Just one guy that's just, going to run offense through this guy. He's going to touch the ball every single time they come down the court almost. And they're able to really grasp that. And then on top of that, you have guys that aren't point guards, are actual playmakers. So guys like John Morant, Jamal Murray, or Anthony Edwards, kind of the ball dominant players that they played against, these are natural playmakers. So they were always sending help from the side of the floor that these playmakers really can't see to make that pass, right? And so while guys are just dribbling it down to this corner, they will send help on this side. The guy can't really see to make that pass, so he's forcing maybe a bad layup, or he swings it to somebody that's not as open, where the defense can kind of just really get to them because they can't make that skip pass like a LeBron can, and can really know the court. Anthony Edwards, great player, but he's not a point guard at heart. You see what I'm saying? John Morant, great player, shooting guard and point guard's body. You see what I'm saying? And so when you have guys like this that are not natural passers, it kind of plays into how OKC plays defense. And Indiana's the one team that does not play like that. They have 5, 6 guys that can handle the ball at any time. Their ball does not stick. The ball hops around. It moves all around the court. They run. They push. They are the one team that plays the kind of offense that deters what OKC does best on defense. So my mind was always that if Indiana could get past what the Eastern Conference has to offer, because it's always, styles makes fights, and they could easily run up against a team that was too big for them, that could kind of like run with them, which would have been kind of like the Knicks, okay, which wore down, okay. But the moment that I realized and got the realization, like everybody else in the world did, that Indiana was going to the finals, which I kind of knew after game 1. Like, it took a lot of people to kind of get on the train and be like, I pretty much knew after game 1 they were going to the finals. Like, I mean, I can't read the future, so I'm not saying like, oh, I'm all godly. No, what I'm saying is once they stole that game, I just had that feeling that they weren't letting this go. That New York didn't have the type of team makeup that was going to be like, we're not losing this series. Once we then got our finals matchup, right? My mind told me 2 things. One, like I said before, this is OKC's final to lose. All the numbers will say it. All the numbers will tell you that this is a historical season for the OK City Thunder, okay? And I'm not going to refute that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is not one of the top 10 statistically best seasons in the NBA, because I would be flat out lying. You cannot argue stats. You can't argue statistics. You can't argue wins and losses. You can't argue these things. And so I'm not going to attempt to. What I am going to attempt to argue is that the moment that this matchup was set, I came up with a prediction that it was going to be Indiana in 6 or OKC in 7. My mind was saying Indiana has to steal one of the first 2 games. They have to hold at home. They could take a game off in game 5, give OKC that game, and they would leave it all on the court for game 6, because they had a feeling that if they lost game 6 at home, it'd probably be such something to overcome to win game 7 on the road after you have already stolen a game against OKC, who's very good at home, okay? So winning 2 games on the road would be almost the hardest road against OKC, being that they were the best team, being that all the statistics saying that the best bet before the series started was OKC in 5. The next best bet was OKC in 6. The next best bet was OKC in 7. The next best bet was OKC in 4. The next best bet was Indiana in 6. Okay? The next one was Indiana in 7, because the odd makers know that even if Indiana was going to win, the better odds for Indiana to win was Indiana in 6, then 7. That was before the series started. So let's talk game 7. My reasoning for even giving Indiana a chance to win this series was solely on coaching. A lot of times these kind of situations come down to coaching, and Indiana has a coach that has been here before. One thing I would say that teams have an advantage in the NBA when they have a player coach. Now, Rick Carlisle, he's been here before. As a player, as a coach, as an assistant coach, he's been in the NBA Finals. He's experienced it. He's been there. He's lived it. He's won it. He's won it as an underdog, okay? OKC's coaching staff, great. Their front office, absolute. I love it. Only one small thing. They haven't been here. There was a quote by, I think it was Rick Carlisle, when he said, if people understood not how hard it is to win a championship, right? Just how hard it is to win an NBA game. Just a game. Just a regular game in mid-November against maybe the worst team in the NBA. How hard it is to win just a single game in the NBA. If people really understood that, they would understood the magnitude of the game that we're about to play on Sunday. Great thing about it is, I don't think anybody on the team in Indiana right now has any worry about the game. OKC is a team that everybody said should win, is going to win. Pencil it in. OKC in 5. If we're talking pressure for a coaching staff, for a MVP, for a second man, for a bench, if we're talking pressure, who do you believe is under more pressure to deliver? On top of who do you believe has more pressure to deliver, who have you seen deliver under the most pressure situations? If I have to go back and be real honest, I feel like Indiana has delivered the most in moments. If it came down to one shot, one possession, 1 minute, Indiana is a team I'm riding with. But OKC has shown me that if they have 1 quarter to kind of solidify their whole, playoffs or, their future trying to win a championship, that they come through in that quarter. Now, they might mess up a game or mess up this or whatever but OKC will capitalize in that 1 quarter in order to win that 1 game. Who do I think is going to win? Well, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Let's see how we've gotten to this point thus far. Through 6 games, what does it look like? What do the stats look like that we lead up to this point right now? Well, you take a look here. That's OKC stats. Every single stat right here. Their team stats leading up to this point. Take a look over here. This is Indiana stats. All of Indiana stats. Take a look at the tail of the tape, okay? As I went through all these stats, did all this math. I mean, it didn't take me too long, but as I'm going through, I'm trying to find one stat that lets me know, like, if this team does this or this team does this, this is what makes them win that game, right? So I'm trying to look at one correlation that tells me who wins what game and for what reason. That's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for these stats, right? As I get through these stats, I find out that it's a lot closer than one would assume because OKC has really dominated at home, right? I've seen some stats somewhere. It's like, so out of the 144 minutes, I think they've been winning like 140 of them, literally like almost the entire time they've been at home. So there's that, right? Let's go back just a little bit, right? My initial prediction was Indiana in 6 or OKC in 7. Here's a little, I just want to sprinkle this in to let you know another reason why I said that. I've seen quite a few Game 7s of NBAs. The last one we've seen was 2016. I've seen the one in 2013, the 09 one with Kobe. I think it was 05 with Detroit and San Antonio. And I think that would have been all the ones that I really seen because the Lakers really dominated their run. That's probably the last one I remember seeing. But other ones that I remember seeing, the one thing that I noticed is that the referees let them play. The referees really try to take themselves out of the game, and they're telling the guys, hey, the championship's up for grabs. Go get it. I don't want to hear no crying. I don't want to hear no complaining unless I can hear it, unless I can physically see it, unless it's egregious. We ain't calling it. So if you want this ring, go get it. This ain't on us. This is on you. This is backyard basketball. This is basketball where it's like you call your own fouls almost, This is what it is. Go get it. And I just felt like that style will play into the hands of OKC because of the way they play defense, how handsy they are, how touchy, grabby, bumpy, in your face, how big they are, how brash they are on defense. It would just allow them to take it to another level at home with those fans, which would be hard for Indiana to overcome because they haven't been able to overcome that to this point. They've started very slow. That fan base has been able to get behind the team early, which then allows them to have an extra oomph about themselves. Those guys coming off the bench have this electricity about themselves that they would not have. So to me, unless Indiana could calm them in the beginning, unless they can come out with that run to kind of silence the crowd, to kind of get them aback, that they probably wouldn't have a chance in Game 7, especially since OKC will be ultra aggressive on defense. And when they're like that, they're really tough to beat. So now that I sprinkled that in, now let's go back to these numbers. So as I'm looking at these numbers, I'm looking for anything that can give me like an inkling that if this happens, Indiana could win. Like, this is what we need to be looking at to happen. This number is what we're looking for. I kid you not. I found the numbers, okay? Now, you wouldn't see it in the tail of the tape because these are total numbers, okay? I'll bring these back up. These are total numbers, okay? These are for the whole entire series. This doesn't break it down. You don't see the numbers that I've seen each game, okay? So let me show you. I'm going to grab my book. I'll be right back. I'm going to show you. If you can see, this is Indy. This is every stat broken down from every game. And this is OKC, every stat broken down from every game, okay? This is their totals down at the bottom for every game. As you can see, Indy shot 45.5%, and you have OKC over here, 44.4%, so on and so forth. These are all the numbers for all the games, okay? I was looking for, what is the number that's going to tell us who's going to win? What number is the only number that correlates win, loss in this series? And you'll be surprised. I was looking at turnovers. I was going to say, hey, when Indiana turns the ball over this many times or this, that's what it is. I was looking for that. That's not the case. Maybe it was fast break points, right? If they have more than 10 points in fast break, they win. Except game 5, they had 13 and they lost. So it was just so many, stats like that. It was just one game that was a variance. But I was looking for something that told me every single game who won. And lo and behold, it came down to free throws. At first thought, you probably would think that it came down to made free throws, missed free throws, free throw percentage. No, it came down to free throws attempted. This is the formula. I'm going to show you. When OKC has shot 31 or more free throws in the NBA Finals, they've won that game. Here goes proof. Game 1, 24 free throws attempts. They lose. Game 2, 33 free throw attempts. They win. Game 3, 30 free throw attempts. They lose. Game 4, 38 free throw attempts. They win. Game 5, 32 free throw attempts. They win. Game 6, 26 free throw attempts. They lose. So you're like, okay, that makes sense, right? The more free throw attempts they have, that means they get into the line more. But it's not about makes or misses. This is only attempts. So you're like, okay, that works for that side. What about the other side? Now, the other side is flipped. As I said before, it's not what you think it is. So on the other side, when Indiana shoots 26 or more free throws, they lose. When they shoot 25 or less, they win. Which to me is telling me that when they get into a game where they are begging for fouls, where they are trying to force shots in the paint, where they are a spread team, where they need to let them fly from the three-point line because that's their advantage. When they try to muck it up and try to play a game that's suitable for OKC and how they want to play, they fail. But when they run and they shoot three-pointers and they're not looking to get to the free throw line and they're playing through contact and they're just balling, they win. In the games that they won, they shot 21 free throws, 22 free throws, and 25 free throws. They weren't looking to get to the line. They just got to the line because their aggression got to them to the line. They weren't overselling fouls. They weren't trying to muck it up. They were shooting the shit out of three-pointers. The ball was flying. I mean, they had at least 21 assists in every game. So the ball is always flying with this team, but it's a matter of how they try to play. What does that mean for Game 7? That's the reason why I wanted to sprinkle that thought into your head about the referees and how they officiate Game 7. See, my mind told me before the series that Game 7 would be in OKC's advantage because their defense would play so well that Indiana, they wouldn't really get to what they want to get to because, they would just be so ultra aggressive, without the help of the referees. But after looking at this, the realization is that OKC needs it. They live it. They die it. They breathe off of the free throw line. That is what breathes life into this team. Also, the fast break points, the turnovers, fast break points. But what really gives them separation and what really is the difference between them barely winning a game or winning by 10 or 15 points is dominating getting to the free throw line. What I thought was going to be an advantage for OKC turns out it's not going to be one because just provisional history tells me that they're not going to call that many fouls. And OKC is not going to shoot more than 30 free throws in this game. It's possible, but I don't think they're going to shoot more than 30 free throws. And I don't think Indiana shoots more than 25. Does the trend buck? Does OKC shoot less than 31 free throws and win a game? Does Indiana shoot less than 25 free throws and lose the game? Up to this point, neither has been true. Based on what I know about basketball and how I think Game 7 will be called, I would say put your money on Indiana plus 8.5, maybe it's down to 7.5, and bet the under. Neither one of these teams probably scores more than 105 points. Just nerves and everything is really going to get to these guys. Neither one of these teams or these players have been in a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. I don't think Carlisle has coached in the Game 7 in the NBA Finals. But if I had to put my money on one coach and one team to win Game 7, based on numbers, based on experience, based on everything I know, give me the Indiana Pacers. Y'all have a good one.